that we are all young people here, which means that the next 10 years ahead of us, we can determine how that looks like for us, our children, and our grandchildren when we decide to have children. So at this point in time, I will not take further of your time. We'll just zoom into the conversations and hear from our keynote speaker. He is very, very known in the terrain, very experienced as well. And so it came as no surprise when he was named the Deputy CEO of the Forestry Commission. And I remember interactions with him. He speaks about our forests with so much passion. You would wonder if he actually, has forest all over him or around him. But it tells you that this is a young man who has decided to take the bull by the horn, and irrespective of the pressure that they put on him to look elsewhere, he says, no, we'll stand for the right thing. Ladies and gentlemen, the Deputy CEO for the Forestry Commission, Elikem Kotoko.
Good evening. Normally, when I'm invited for programs of this nature, I always tell the organizers I have a minimum of 2 hours to speak and to ask if they are ready to condone that. But I have limited myself today to try and stay within 15 minutes or maximum 20 minutes. And I pray that you indulge me. Who here has heard of Socrates? Socrates. He has a very famous saying that, in fact, what he knows is that he knows nothing. And Socrates was sentenced to death by Helmholtz. I think that was 399 BC, because it was believed that he was corrupting the youth. Just like today, we now realize that Jesus Christ was not a bad person after all. Socrates never wrote a single book, but Plato has actually written a lot about him. And the Socrates' approach is that he tries to stimulate arguments by asking very thought-provoking questions. So when I got here and was told, and they were asking what everybody was expecting to learn, I started asking myself what I was also going to learn since I was going to speak. But I have already learned to know that there are people listening and wanting to know what I have to say from Forestry Commission. Good evening. Distinguished guests, members of the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to address you as we shape Africa's sustainable future together. Today's theme, Shaping Africa's Future Through Climate Journalism, captures the urgency of our times. Climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is a present reality that demands bold leadership, collective responsibility, and an unwavering commitment to truth. And in this noble pursuit, journalists are no mere observers. You are partners in nation building, storytellers of transformation, and catalysts of accountability. My topic this evening, which is telling Ghana's green story in the digital age, is one that deeply resonates with our national agenda for sustainable development. Ghana's green story is about how the country is balancing economic growth with ecological preservation, showcasing efforts that protect forests, restore degraded lands, promote clean energy, and ensure that communities benefit from sustainable development. At the Forestry Commission, our mandate is to protect, preserve, and sustainably manage the forest resources and wildlife in Ghana, according to Act 571 of 1999. How many of us were born then? At the heart of Ghana's green story is our renewed fight against illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey. This fight is not merely about protecting trees or rivers. It is about preserving our collective future, our food systems, and the dignity of generations yet unborn. Since January 2025, under the visionary leadership of His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, and the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Emmanuel Amakofi-Bua, who doubles as Caretaker Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, and also as a Member of Parliament for Elembele, significant milestones have been achieved. Permit me the latitude of time to outline a few to you. Since the beginning of this year, no new mining licenses have been issued, particularly into our forest reserves. This decisive measure allows the government to assess, sanitize, and reorganize the small-scale mining sector to ensure environmental compliance and sustainable operations. 2, several mining licenses have already been revoked after comprehensive environmental and operational audits revealed violations of Ghana's mining and environmental laws. This action sends a clear message that compliance is non-negotiable. The committee leading that charge is headed by the Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Alhaji Sulemana. And as we speak, I am aware over 316 of such licenses have been revoked, and another 300 risk being revoked for one infraction or the other. Our forest reserves and water bodies have been formally declared security zones, placing them under special protection. This strategic step enhances enforcement and enables the deployment of additional security and monitoring personnel to safeguard these critical ecosystems. Another major concern that allowed for many people to continue their callous act of what we have all become very concerned about is the LI 2462. This allowed for people to go into our forest reserves in the name of mining. And this was because a certain majority at a point in time had its way, even when the minority had its say. The current minister has kicked in motion a letter to the Attorney General to consider a repeal of that LI completely, so that it will be crime for anybody to be found in the forest reserves in the name of mining. It has also become evident that the use of excavators and other heavy equipment has been a major catalyst in this destruction. Unlike in previous times, the government has now issued a directive that all imported excavators must obtain prior clearance before shipment. And upon arrival, they are to be registered with the DVLA and geofenced to ensure they are not used outside the approved locations. The current government has also instituted what has become known as a task force, the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, which is aimed at ensuring that together with all the other forces, they are able to fight anti-Galamsey. And this is headed by none other than one Colonel Dominic Bua. This specialized body coordinates all national efforts against illegal mining, leveraging intelligence, technology, and interagency collaboration. NIMOS has significantly improved real-time monitoring, enforcement, and reporting, reinforcing the government's commitment to protecting Ghana's natural resources. At the Forestry Commission, beyond mining, we also deal with the issue of illegal logging, which some way, somehow, because of Galamsey, has not gained any major attention lately. A practice that equally threatens our forest reserves. As the Deputy CEO in charge of operations, I have made it my goal to fight and reduce these illegal practices, and I know the damn consequences for taking up this role. We are taking bold climate action to reduce our carbon footprint. We are investing heavily in reforestation programs. The Green Ghana project, which is planting 30 million trees nationwide, continues to inspire a generational mindset shift from exploitation to regeneration. In alignment with the European Union's Deforestation Regulation, EUDR, Ghana is strengthening its forest governance frameworks to ensure that its exports in terms of timber and agricultural commodities meet global standards of sustainability and traceability. Ghana recently joined the Forest Law Enforcement Governance and Trade, FLEGT, an initiative designed to combat illegal logging and promote sustainable timber trade. The goal is to ensure that our timber products come from legal and responsibly managed forests. This major milestone underscores our commitment to working closely with international partners to digitize supply chains, certify sustainable production, and uphold Ghana's reputation as a responsible trade partner within the global green economy. I am very proud to announce to you today that Ghana is the first country in Africa to sign on to FLEGT, and the second in the world to also sign on to that just a few weeks ago. Ladies and gentlemen, one major thing that requires the attention of all of us, and which I recall many of us here used to love, was Captain Planet. But when we used to watch Captain Planet, we all saw it just as an action movie, right? But have you thought of what they were doing? They were about protecting the environment. They were against pollution. So whenever Captain Pollution tried to pollute the environment, Kwame and his neighbor and his brothers and sisters would call in Captain Planet if the work was beyond them. This is time for us to go back. And I believe already that new Captain Planet is in town is not only President John Mahama. The people who will be able to help Captain Planet to succeed, it's you and myself who are young men who must be very concerned about the next generation. When some years back, the people who came after us thought about us as the next generation. Ladies and gentlemen, the media remains one of the most powerful allies in our environmental agenda. You are the bridge between policy and the people, the storytellers who illuminate both our challenges and our progress. The digital age offers a unique opportunity to tell Ghana's green stories, to share them with the world. It provides us with a powerful platform to raise awareness about climate change, its impacts, as well as mitigation and adaptation actions. To achieve this, we must all, as journalists, remain well informed about climate and environmental issues. How many of us have heard of the Green City Initiative announced by the President? What is our understanding of this initiative? What role are we playing to tell this beautiful story? And how are we prepared to critically evaluate its progress? Often, we hear that we intend to plant 30 million trees, or we intend to plant 50 million trees. But how many of these trees survive after a year or two? So the monitoring is as equally important as the process. There is also a great opportunity for journalists and the youth to use digital platforms to appeal to both local and international institutions to support vulnerable communities, especially our women and young children. For example, while we advocate for climate action, we can also use these platforms to campaign for a borehole project in a village in the Upper West region, or in Abo, where I was born, or maybe where you believe you come from. We must admit that it will not be our brother alone who is a known blogger. So long as you have a phone, you are your own producer, you are your own editor, you can make it count. Such a project provides a real solution to the impacts of climate change. It saves women and children from walking long distances to fetch water for their households. Similarly, digital advocacy can draw attention to the need for support to small-scale farmers through irrigation systems and improved seedlings. These are practical examples of mitigation and adaptation in action. In this digital age of ours, where misinformation can spread faster than truth, the responsibility of the journalist has never been greater. Climate journalism, particularly in Africa, must be rooted in data, driven by empathy, and powered by innovation. The Forestry Commission and its allied agencies are committed to deepening collaboration with the media through capacity building initiatives, data sharing platforms, and field access to ensure that the stories of Ghana's green transformation are told accurately, compellingly, and consistently. As we tell Ghana's green story, let us remember that it is not just a national narrative. It is part of Africa's broader journey towards resilience, sustainability, and self-determination. Let us use the power of the digital journalism to amplify hope, to document progress, and to inspire action. Together, we can shape a future where development and conservation are not opposing forces, but twin pillars of a prosperous and sustainable Africa. Thank you, and may we continue to tell the stories that move nations toward a greater tomorrow. Akpena Mikata.
Well, let's do it better for Alikem Kotoko. You know, he brought back memories of Captain Planet. He's the hero, gonna take pollution down to zero. Yeah, I was a kid, I enjoyed that. Earth, fire, wind, water, heart. You see, the Gen Zs, they don't know Captain Planet. Well, let's do it one more time for Alikem Kotoko, Deputy CEO of the Forestry Commission. When you talked about illegal logging, it reminded me of those days when Rosewood, the issue of Rosewood, how many of you remember the felon of Rosewood were angry about it? I'll sit on radio and scream, and then Clement Park we'll be talking so much about it as well. It tells us that things are evolving, and because we are paying attention to only one side, we are losing sight of the others as well, destroying our environment. But ladies and gentlemen, while he was going ahead with his presentation, we also received the High Commissioner of Barbados to Ghana, Her Excellency Juliet Bino Sutherland. Hi, Your Excellency. Thank you so much for being here. You know, she believes so much in everything that young people do, and she pushes the young people to achieve greater and better. So thank you so much. We are honored to have you here. Ame Aldebra is also here. Please, let's also receive him. Let's welcome him. He needs no introduction, so I'll end it there. Ame Aldebra. If you don't get it, yeah, so simple. All right, so now we'll take a very quick presentation from an accomplished and an award-winning journalist in this country. She's used her platform as well to champion a lot of good. Ladies and gentlemen, let's receive Natalie Ford. Oh, please do it better for her.
Thank you so much, Joshua, and a very good evening yet again to each and every one of you. I'd like to first of all just congratulate the TN Africa team for this brilliant initiative. Can we give them a round of applause? Now, most of you may know me from my over a decade experience in media, and I'm also honored to serve as partner and advisory board member to what I could say stands as the leading environmental and sustainability certification firm. It's known as the World Sustainability Organization, and it's headquartered in Italy. So today I'm just going to run you through the work of the WSO. I was very glad when we had the Deputy CEO for the Forestry Commission speak about certification, speak about contributing to society through sustainability, because that's essentially what we do. Okay, so once again, a very, very good evening, and it's an honor to be here as we gather and discuss the power of digital journalism in shaping the narrative of climate change and promoting sustainable development in Africa. One thing that I think many of us often forget is that, sustainability and the essence of conservation started in Africa. It's actually deep-seated in our roots, truly. We just seem to have lost sight of it throughout the years. And I think we need to hone into that. And once we do so, sustainability will be something that comes very easily to us. So I've got a presentation, thank you, and this is the annual report of the WSO. So first of all, what exactly is the WSO, and how can we all, you all as journalists, also benefit from the work that we do? Please take it forward for me. Okay, it's rather small, but you can still have a look at the sections of the slide. So, as mentioned, we're made up of two key certification bodies called Friend of the Earth and Friend of the Sea. And as the name goes, we basically promote sustainability certifications within the earth and the sea. And what that means is we've got companies that operate in diverse sectors, and we pretty much certify the entire sustainability chain. So let me explain, let me break it down a tad. We've got sustainability certifications for companies that are in the food industry, for restaurants, for hospitality sectors, for sustainable sports. And towards the end of my presentation, I'm going to also let you know how us and you as journalists can contribute to our work. So it's founded by a gentleman known as Paolo Bre. As I mentioned, it's headquartered in Italy. He's got over 3 decades of experience in the sustainability field. And we've got I'm going to run you through a very brief timeline. So we started off with what's known as Sustainable Friends. It's a community to raise awareness. And we created this nonprofit space since the year 2019. We've got a community of organizations and schools and companies from across the world. I mean, you name it, mostly in Europe, but we are getting much more in Africa as well. In 2022, we set up the World Sustainability Organization, specifically the World Sustainability Foundation, right? And so we've managed efforts and supported companies and schools across the world, and a number of them so far are in Nigeria, and a few are building up here in Ghana. We've also got what's known as a concept store. It's somewhere in Italy, and this store is a sustainability hub with thousands of products that are sold and created by some of the companies certified by us. Okay, so our work is in line. We've all heard of, the Sustainable Development Goals, Agenda 2030, and that forms up a key factor of our work. Okay, so our conservation projects and sustainability certifications are really custodians of the SDGs, specifically SDG 14, known as Life Below Water. Now, as you see on the projector, we've got over 15,000 companies that are certified by WSO across the world. Over 15,000. We've got over 5,000 products certified by the WSO as well. So, really, what's the need for certification, one might ask, right? We are sustainable and we are operating in a sustainable manner, why must you be certified? Now, what certification does, as was mentioned by the Deputy CEO for the Forestry Commission, it helps to serve as a check, right? I remember my recent visit to China, and I was in this hotel where I was constantly reminded about certification, about sustainability, I should say, from what was placed on our bed to what was hanging in the washroom. There were little notes just frequently reminding us of the need to be sustainable and to maintain the environment. What sustainability certifications essentially do is to ensure that our companies, when we are entering a restaurant in Ghana that says we make sustainable seafood, that indeed they're following key metrics towards sustainability. we actually conduct audits for these companies to ensure that they are operating in a truly sustainable manner. When we go to a sports set, we've got beautiful beaches in Ghana that are all polluted, you know, and are decorated with garbage. What a sustainability certification essentially does is that, say we've got a key hotel that says they've got a beach as well. We check to ensure that indeed they're operating in a manner that is sustainable, to ensure that their environment is sustainable, to ensure that they're giving back to the society or community in which they're working. So that's the need. That's what a sustainability certification does. We've also got certifications for sustainable fashion. A number of key international brands are featured. During Milan Fashion Week, for instance, we have a number of key sustainable fashion brands that are featured there as well. So the essence is really to serve as a reminder. I mean, if we value sustainability and our companies say that they're being sustainable, there's one thing saying it and there's another thing actually practicing it. And that's where sustainability certifications come in. And so we've got conservation and awareness efforts. We've also got opportunities to promote the brand of some of the firms that work with us, as well as social accountability. Over 80 countries, firms that operating in over 80 countries are certified by the WSO. Strict yet affordable certifications as well. Now, let me hone into us as journalists, and we're talking specifically today about digital journalism. I think we've all recognized in these times the power of digital journalism, even throughout this war, I must say, because we've been online on Instagram, and that's how many of us followed news, say, on the crisis, you know, between Israel and Gaza. That is a typical example of digital journalism. It's everyday people holding their phones, cameras, or what have you, and just recording what's going on. It's that simple, right? And so us as journalists, whether you're working in mainstream media, online, digital journalism specifically, here's how you can benefit from the World Sustainability Organization. So as mentioned, we've got certifications in varied sectors, okay? We work with journalists from many countries. We've got reports and interviews that have been featured on platforms such as the BBC, on Vogue, I mean, you could name them. We have the desire to increase our work in Ghana and in Africa, right? We have the desire to work with a lot more journalists here. And so what that means is that whether you're doing interviews through television, whether it's online, it's radio, you could be fed with some of the certifications that we offer. You could identify some of the topical sustainability issues that are happening in our environment, report on it. We, the WSO, will then help to provide you with additional resource people, right? And once you're able to place these reports on a number of platforms, there is also some support in terms of remuneration that we offer to journalists, because the real aim is to have the word out, get the word out there a lot more. Okay, so say for instance you've observed what's happening with Galamsey, of course, as we all have, and you put out some reports that talk about illegal mining and the damaging effects of illegal mining, and really a call to action for these firms that are operating that are mining, and how we can ensure that they operate sustainably, because we've got sustainable mining certifications, right? And so in something like that, if you're putting out reports, and okay, I'd have to pause briefly because I'm on the stage, so I might as well do the honors of us recognizing Bola Ray, CEO of VIB Network, please. A round of applause for him. It's great to have you here. And so, as I was mentioning, it really does provide the opportunity for us to, you pick a topic, you see various issues happening in the sustainable and environmental space, you pick an area or certification that the WSO offers, and we then work along with you in terms of pushing out these reports onto various platforms. And as a result of that, there is some benefits, as per monetary benefits, that is offered to young journalists, because there's also a need to further motivate. So I hope there's some clarity there. Yes? Okay. So, as mentioned as well, we've got projects I mentioned we've got in over 80 countries. So you're talking Nigeria, we've got a few in Ghana, Madagascar, Malaysia, Namibia, Peru, South Africa, and the list goes on and on. And we also interview various inspiring companies. So as a digital journalist as well, in these days you can be on LinkedIn, on Facebook, X, and just identify people who are working within the sustainability space, have an interview with them, and on the WSO's platforms as well, we give you that opportunity for those interviews to be featured. So there are quite a number of possibilities in terms of partnerships between the WSO and young journalists like yourselves. And finally, as I round up, there are also online sustainability courses as well that we offer through the WSO, so that of course enables you to broaden your scope as per issues on sustainability. And finally, really the key essence of this, as mentioned earlier, is that, in my opinion, and not just my opinion, but as per research as well, Africa is sustainable. Africa's true traditional practices in our continent are very much sustainable. We've lost sight of them, and we are not promoting them, we are not practicing them, right? And I think there's so many creative concepts that we as well as journalists can explore. Joshua spoke about the fact that it goes even beyond just talking about climate change or the environment to the villages, the hinterlands. I mean, that's where the real stories are, right? And we also hope to get those featured, okay? Yes, and so I don't want to take too much of your time, but simply put, we seek to work with a lot of young journalists, right? We seek to promote the work of young journalists. We seek to have issues of sustainability broken down into everyday language that people will understand. And we're dedicated to promoting sustainable development, innovative solutions, research, and advocacy. And we believe that with you, we can do a lot more of that. And so I'd be happy to also have TN Africa, even post this gathering, further share how we can partner. Thank you all so much.
Oh, you can do better for Natalie Ford. So quite a lot to chew on so far, but that's not all. There's more we'd need to hear before we get into the proper discussions, where we'll also have the opportunity to be asking questions about how we can also contribute to this. And in terms of live streaming, we are live on YouTube at ABCGH. So ABC News GH, just go on YouTube, you can see that link there, and also share for the rest of the world to benefit from the wealth that we are partaking in this evening. So like she said, we have the CEO of the YB Network here, Kwabena Notche DC, aka Bolare. Yeah, and he's not here alone. Please clap for my boss well. Eh? We are in October, November, December. Clap for my boss. And he's not here alone, he's also here with the business manager for Star FM, the man feeling daddy. Yeah. The first time I got to know his name was Enoch Asare. I was like, hey, sir, feeling you're welcome. And Mrs. Bolare is hiding somewhere, so Auntie Dorcas is also here. Let's celebrate Auntie Dorcas and Notche DC. So tell somebody we get back in. We are not doing it in the vacuum. Absolutely. All right, so now we'll hear from one of Ghana's accomplished journalists as well. She used to work with the media. In fact, she's worked with a lot of media houses. Now she's gone into corporate communications. And talking about corporate communications, Pakwesi Shandov is also here. Please, let's celebrate Pakwesi Shandov. Yeah, the last time he and I had a go at each other on Galamsey issues on my show. Yeah, he's here. So we'll hear from Emefa Apau, and she would have loved to be here in person, but because of one or two things, she could not make it. But she sent us a video of her presentation. So please, let's pay attention to the screens. If possible, let's have the lights out.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I must first apologize for my inability to be with you in person. I was so looking forward to see my colleagues, Kaleji, Kent, Elvis, and everyone gathered here today. But due to circumstances, circumstances beyond my control. I wasn't able to be there, but I know that another opportunity will come and I'll get to spend time with all of you. But it is truly an honor to be part of this incredible gathering. A community where I know we have storytellers, we have truth seekers, and of course, change makers gathered here in this room. When I first began my journey in journalism, I never imagined that one day we'll be having conversations like this about climate, inclusion, and how the stories we tell literally shape the future of our continent. And it's so exciting that we get to do this now. I come from a small Ghanaian town, Amfuega, where the rhythm of life was tied to seasons. When the rains delayed, our mothers worried. And when floods came, our fathers worried even more. But no one ever called it climate change. I bet you agree. It was just life, unpredictable, sometimes cruel, but always resilient. That's how we saw it. Today we know better, and yet the people most affected, women, the youth, and our local communities are still often spoken for rather than heard from because they are most affected. Now, inclusive storytelling begins when we change who gets to speak and whose stories we choose to center on. That's key. But for too long, climate journalism in Africa has been framed around data, around disaster, and decisions made far from the people they affect. But the heart of climate change beats in our communities, in the women, that's the women farmers, whose crops no longer yield, the fishermen watching the shoreline disappear. In fact, sometimes they just catch plastic, or the young coder in Tamale designing an app to track rainfall patterns. Well, as journalists, communicators, and creators, we have a sacred duty, not just to report what is, but to reimagine what could be. That's where inclusive storytelling becomes a form of justice. Really, that's the situation. I have spent close to 2 decades or more telling stories from the newsrooms. I always say it's breaking the news, to national projects that use technology to actually bridge Ghana's digital divide, which we do now. And I've seen firsthand that when we hand the microphone to the people on the margins, the story changes. And so does the outcomes as well. That's really the situation. I must say also that if women, young people, and local communities are not part of the climate story, then we are only telling half of it. And that's really the situation. So this is what for me is the call to action that we need to look at. How do we actually make storytelling more inclusive? I'd say we start local. That's every climate story has a village, and it begins there. As journalists, as communicators, we need to find the human face behind the data, not just data. People are not just data. We need to find the human face to it. Secondly, I feel we need to use digital tools responsibly. And I'm glad we have social media. We call them new media people now. We have the bloggers. We have all of us
Hey, so mommy, who is going to do my day jollof?
Oh, Kwame. You know our secret, right?
Yeah.
Efia.
Yes, me. I've got it.
Now add your Gino Jollof mix.
The perfect blend of tomatoes, pepper, and fine herbs and spices to ensure a consistent taste every time. And there you have it, your original Ghana Jollof.
Jollof Soko.
Jollof Soko. Tasty nie.
What is going on here?
Enjoy Jollof the Ghana way. Gino Jollof is made with the perfect blend of tomatoes, pepper, and fine herbs and spices to ensure a consistent taste every time.
This advert is FDA approved.
Rent back with the Pia Upa. Come on, come see you. Where Jessica? My friend, see before.
It's the Telecel Too Much Money promo. Win cash daily, weekly, and a grand prize of 1.2 million Ghana cedis. Just reload or buy a bundle with Telecel Cash to earn points and stand a chance to win big. Dial *500# or visit the Telecel Play app to opt in and start winning in the Telecel Too Much Money promo. Terms and conditions apply. This promo is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas Lottery platform.
When is campaign? If you're a baby, many schedule no. If you know, meto chiaka. Inti ene, uno ba no mpe baby amobeda. Oh, na abeka. Ye did too much money. No matter.
Telecel, connecting energies.
This session, I am going to invite on stage my panelists for this session, and what we're discussing is going to be very, very simple, but also very impactful. So first on my list will be Marjorie Fielder, advocate for ethical AI and its inclusive storytelling. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together. You know, for a second, I was telling my colleague over there, Ajwa, that every single time I find myself on a stage, I panic a little. My mother says it's okay. So I came on stage panicking, and I think it's a good thing. I think you should put your hands together for me. And I did that because my boss is sitting here. So ladies and gentlemen, let me acknowledge the presence of Bulare. Mr. Nathaniel Edisi, good evening. I have to panic, it's healthy, okay? And Mrs. Bulare is at the back there. Good evening. And I find my beautiful colleague here, Natalie Ford. She'll be my next panelist. I'm going to be inviting on stage Natalie Ford. She is partner and advisory board member, World Sustainability Organization. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome her. Oh, you can do better, please. Then the last, but not obviously the least, but also the only gentleman on the panel, he is Michael Chachu Aholu. I hope I pronounced that well. Oh yeah, okay. Documentary filmmaker and environmental communicator. Ladies and gentlemen, let's do it better for them. Once again, thank you so much for having us. We're going to be speaking on climate change and human impact, connecting climate action with everybody, including yourself, who probably a couple of years ago didn't care about the conversation on climate change. Some people honestly still don't care, and it's fascinating, but okay, we're going to try to include everyone in the conversation. So ladies and gentlemen, good evening once again, and let's jump right into our conversation. So I'm going to start, this is a very general question, but it's really targeted to Marjorie. After she answers that, you can have your take on that. Given the current state of climate change and its profound impact, what are the most critical actions we must take immediately to foster a sustainable future? And this is to you, Marjorie.
Can you help us with the microphone, please? I'm going to pass mine.
Hello.
Okay. Thank you very much for this question, and thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm very honored. So, can you hear me? Okay. So, your question, is it more in regards to digital journalism or in general in regards to climate issues?
Should I say both? Okay, I'm going to say both.
Because first and foremost, I would say before we talk about digital journalism, we have to talk about ourselves as humans, because I think we've been talking a lot about digital and this, but I think it touches first on the human thing, because the climate issue is because I think we've been talking a lot about digital and this, but I think it touches first on the human thing, because the climate issue is no longer just an environmental issue, it's a human rights issue. So, which means now, for us to really make sure that we do not have all these issues, because it's our fault, actually, that we've got to this stage, because everybody else here has not really been taking care of their, let's say, their gestures, because I've seen here how people behave, I've seen here how it is with the bins, there's no proper recycling, really, people don't really, they don't really check their bins, they put everything in one bin and they just throw it somewhere, like, all these little gestures basically add up to what happens to the climate issue. And also taking care of what you guys like to do a lot here is eating, animals and all that, because it's part of the climate issues as well. I've not heard anybody here talking about that. Everybody's talking about flooding and all, but what about you? What do you do at home? Because I'm sure when you go home, you're on your plate, you're gonna have chicken, you're gonna have beef, you're gonna have something. Every day you'll be eating meat. But what happens? Because these animals, they are part of the climate too, because they are the ones who make sure as well that everything is taken care of, the plants and everything. It's a whole cycle. So unless you start taking care of that and you sacrifice yourself, which means maybe you say, okay, maybe every week I'll be eating 3 times meat, and the last days I'm not gonna eat meat. If you can deal with that, then maybe you'll be participating into this climate issue. Unless you do that, you're not doing nothing.
Oh my God, wow. They're about to take the meat from us now. What? Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, but I think, again, the conversation about climate change is a broader one that we probably will not be able to exhaust in this room, but obviously we're touching on areas that people usually would not. And so, again, thank you very much for that, which means that cut down your intake of meat. Please do. Back to you here. And, of course, I'm going to send this one to Natalie Ford. We're speaking on WSO, an organization you present. And many African countries depend on agriculture and fishing. How can these industries adopt WSO's sustainability standards without compromising livelihoods?
All right, so thank you so much, Mimi. So basically, yes, we know that a lot of African countries, Ghana, fishing is a key part of our everyday lives. And adopting the WSO certification, it basically has to do with the policy makers. You know, we've got one here. I've really put him on the spot quite a bit. I've mentioned about 3 to 4 times already, but it has to do with us recognizing from a governance standpoint and from a policy standpoint why there is that need to have these certifications in the first place, right? And so the farmers, the fishermen who are operating at different levels, different scales, right? But first of all, the first key indicator, okay, is to audit their work in the first place, right? Is to sort of research, find out how is their work being conducted, are they operating in a sustainable manner, and how can we ensure that indeed they continue to operate in a sustainable manner, right? It is not necessarily from fishing to the plate, right? When I say to the plate, I mean taking it forward to what is served in a restaurant, for instance. That entire chain can adopt the WSO certification. Okay, so it's first of all, if you have a restaurant that, as I mentioned earlier, that says it is operating sustainably, it's finding out where you source your fish and where you source your fish from, are they operating sustainably? Okay, so you can't even have these restaurants certified if they are not sourcing from a sustainable source in the first place. Okay, so it's policymakers, it's also industry, it's businesses realizing why they, first of all, need to ensure that they're operating sustainably. Because when we start off at the sustainable restaurant point, we have to go all the way back to the fisher, to where you're sourcing your fish from. So automatically, you can't say that you're operating a sustainable restaurant when you're not sourcing from a sustainable source. And so it's really just engaging policymakers, right? It's further engaging policymakers. It's engaging industry. It's letting them know the need, first of all, to be certified. It's letting us, the everyday people who may enter these restaurants or pick up our fish from, even if we take it down a lot further, right? We are buying our fish from, say, the market. This market woman may not be privy or even be bothered, quite frankly, about getting certified for her little store in the market. But I think that is where us as journalists come to play, because it's taking it beyond the high-level speech of business, industry, governments, to some of the market men, market women who may be selling fish in these smaller markets, right? And it's finding out from them in their language, be it in our local language, you know, in a more personal manner, how they are sourcing their fish. You know, how are you sourcing your fish? Where are you getting it from? It's educating them. We've got UTV, we've got, of course, us, GH1. It's educating them even in our local languages about sustainability, you know, about, do you understand it? What does it mean to you? As you're here selling your fish, what does that mean to you, right? So with WSO specifically, what we offer is sustainable certifications, as has been highlighted. And we just seek to further engage with government. We seek to further engage with industry. In fisheries, when you're talking fisheries specifically, with restaurants, with stakeholders in the industry. But I would also put a call to us journalists to take the conversation a lot further and deeper to our marketplaces. Because here in Ghana, we know that things go beyond the supermarkets and the more elevated places to our market centers. And how are we creating stories that are touching the hearts and minds of these local men and women and letting them even know what sustainability means and how it applies to their everyday life. Yeah.
Right. Were you looking at me like that to ask whether or not you've answered my question? Because you went around it, came back to it and said, so this is what you cannot do. You cannot interview a journalist because she's going to show you she's a journalist. So let's move on away from that. But thank you very much for that submission. Now, with over a decade, and I'm going to go to the gentleman, please celebrate him for me. He's the only gentleman on this panel, which means that he is a feminist. Yeah. Per my recommendation. Well, with over a decade of experience, what are the most effective communication strategies for engaging the public in climate advocacy?
Well, I'll say storytelling.
Okay.
Actually, storytelling. We have had so many interventions by government, policies being implemented and later enforcements. We even have a lot of the government agencies hold so many meetings, so many of these workshops, which they take a lot of money for. And we don't see much happening on the ground. Why is this? It's because they discuss issues in the scientific form, complex issues that the local Ghanaian cannot relate to or even understand. But with storytelling, we can take these complicated issues, these complicated topics, and break it down into easily digestible formats. Now, I'm really happy about this, this entire summit because we are putting together and pushing the whole narrative that anyone can create, anyone can actually take a phone or a digital device and teach or spread information. And I believe that if we all have that mindset that I can pick up my phone and just talk about the day being too hot in May, in June, July, which should be cold relatively. That is we talking about the impacts of climate change. That is us telling our stories. I realize that issues about climate change are really complicated, actually. People talking about the sun shining on the earth and the atmosphere, the ozone depleting, the environment getting hotter. how am I supposed to understand this? And how am I supposed to relate this to my daily life, actually? But if I take my phone, my whatever device, and I talk about how the flood has affected me, I talk about things which I am experiencing, and that's the impact of climate change on my life, others will see the effects, and we can be able to push for climate action. So if you ask me, I say storytelling, and I say this is the most effective form of pushing out the narrative, pushing out the measures, pushing out the education on climate change and its related issues.
I agree with you. Please, let's put our hands together for him one more time, because that's what we try to do. That's what we try to do as journalists. But again, I heard, was it MFA Powell? Someone say that it's unfortunate that indeed we are being impacted largely by this climate change, but we do not talk about it as much as we should. And so storytelling indeed. Now, away from that, I'm going to come back to Marjorie. Yes, I'm going to come back to you. Yesterday I saw some photos being posted on social media, and then one of the photos I saw was a very good friend of mine. I told her, this is not your weight. She was like, AI. And so we're going to talk about AI today as well, how we can use that to obviously push this agenda. So to you, Marjorie, what role do you believe ethical AI can play in improving climate change responses and initiative?
So basically, when we say AI, we have to enforce the word ethical, because there's AI and there's ethical AI. And it's very important to make sure that, because with AI, we can obviously use it to tell the stories, but we have to make sure that the AI being used is ethical in a sense where it's transparent, it's inclusive, and also that it's designed in with the context in mind, with the local context in mind. That means that we should not be using AI that's from, I don't know, from Peru or from Venezuela. It has to be basically AI that's being used with African data, African voices, and African leadership that will actually be guiding the people who build those tools, so that the technology will not be repeating the same, I would say, the same mistakes or the same patterns of exclusion it's supposed to solve. Because right now, it's not really that inclusive. So if we really want to be using AI per se, it needs to be basically adapted to the continent, to the countries, to the local people, so that it could do the work. Because if we're using something from somewhere else, OpenAI is cool, but I think it's time for us now to be building our own things. Even, sorry to say that, but even for the certifications, I believe it's time to also build our own, basically, because it's very important. Because that's also part of climate issues. Importing is not that good. It's good to stay here and build here. So all of that is part of it.
So AI is essential to this entire cause, is what you say?
It is essential, but it has to be used responsibly and ethically. That is all.
Thank you very much. Back to you, Natalie. In your opinion, what information, because I heard you say earlier that you are part of what you do as an organization, you try to interact with policymakers to make sure that policies are designed to push the agenda you as an organization is pushing. So in your opinion, what information do you wish policymakers had about the reality of climate struggles faced by local communities?
Right, well, yes, we do engage policymakers. And one key, I'd say the most important one, is just policymakers realizing that issues on climate change isn't so distant. You know, I agree with Marjorie when she mentions localizing these, be it certifications, and coming up with initiatives that are contextual. Because as I was saying earlier, sustainability is something that's very deep-rooted to Africa and to Ghana. And if you read our history, it's not something that isn't a part of us. So I would wish that policymakers just understood and realized the fact that it's not a distant, non-existent, dreamy thing somewhere in the air, but it's real. I mean, we're breathing this air every day. We're stepping out of our home. We see the environment. We're eating the food that comes from places where galamsey is practiced. And so it's really a part of our everyday life. And the key thing that I would want policymakers to realize is that it's real. And if not for anything, it's affecting, as you mentioned, Mimi, us in Africa, even more so than the West, right? And there are statistics to back that.
Yeah.
So I just say that policymakers need to realize that it is a real thing. It's a lot closer to us, and the impact of it, the negative impact of it, is a lot closer to us than we may realize. And so let's think. Let's come up with initiatives. Let's back and support certifications. Let's get organizations to get certified. Let's get them to put their money where their mouth is. Let's get them to not just speak about being sustainable, but to actually show that they are, and through certifications. But even as outside of certifications, let's just realize that this is real. It's really real. And where the impact is felt less, be it in the West and so on, when you go visit those places, they promote sustainability more. They're ensuring that their environment is sustainable, even more so than we are. But we bear the brunt of it more so than they do. Yeah, so I would just say that policymakers need to wake up, realize that it's a real thing, and work with industry, work with journalists, work with certification bodies to ensure that we live a sustainable life. At the end of the day, it's to our own good. It's for our own good, no? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Natalie. I remember this would be 2015 or 2016 when this young girl, Greta, is that her name? Yes, when she started her journey on climate change. And I remember a very wonderful president say a very, very nasty thing about her journey. What is he saying now about that again? He thinks it's real now? Okay. You don't know the president, I don't know the president. We will move on. Back to the gentleman on the panel. How do you address skepticism, right, about climate change in your communications?
Well, that's a tough one.
Is it?
Yeah. How do I address skepticism? Okay, so I've had a background in media. I started actually as a journalist with CTFM Channel 1. I was original correspondent for about 2 years. And in here, you actually get into a rural community. There's a rural community I want to do a story about them. They didn't have a running, a good source of water, a potable source of water. What they'll do is that they'll go and queue over a long period, maybe from as early as 1 a.m. They'll get to a pond, which is a natural water source. And they'll queue there to get water just to have their bath and to take care of their kids and all those stuff. And in here, you tell these people that the reason why you don't have water, the reason why that your water source has dried up is because of climate change. They have no idea. They can't even understand the concepts you are trying to teach them. So the reason why I'm saying it's a tough one is because there's a lot of uneducation, miseducation, and ignorance, basically. They are almost the same, but there are slight differences in there. In society, in Ghana, because we have a huge rural population. And you don't get these people to be skeptical out of want. It's because they don't know. So if you tell them that, okay, climate change is real, or there's this or there's that going on because of climate change, your rice farm is burning up because the rains have not come and it's dried, and if you are trying to explain to them, they will not understand it. So for me, I will not say skepticism by choice. It's more of their reality, basically. It's more of a simple life for them. So they just want the right things to be done, the interventions by the government and all those stuff to come to their aid. And I would pull this back to government, to policymakers. We have a population that is highly agrarian. We have a population that majority might not continue after senior high school to properly understand these complicated concepts. Why don't we make sure that the interventions to support these communities, these rural communities, are very well addressed and very well implemented? In the middle belts of Ghana, we have the green belts, and this is actually an intervention to prevent the savanna from getting lower. If you actually look at the statistics, due to illegal logging, due to galamsey and a number of other issues, we are having the Ghana's forest cover deplete, and it's slowly coming down if you look at the Ghana map. So there's an intervention to hold that belt, and that's within the middle belt of Ghana, so it doesn't descend. But unfortunately, we are failing that. And within these areas, we need to push the efforts, we need to push funded, we need to push the focus. That's where we need the TikTokers, those who speak Twi, those who have huge followings in all these digital platforms, to actually drive the conversations that, of course, you get money for Galamsey today, but it's slowly depleting our forests. It's perpetuating the effects of climate change. It's even bringing the effects to us faster. If we have most of our digital creators coming on board to understand the situation and also educate the rural folks in the language which they understand, in easy to understand bites, we'll be able to eliminate the skepticism or the lack of understanding within this particular field. So I would say, let us all come on board. I can see Akwesi Bugatti. Oh, yes, I can see him in here. He's doing amazing stuff on Snapchat, on Instagram. Yeah, Deborah, great social media influencers. All of you, come on board, especially those who speak the Twi. Because I speak English. I was on TV. I was trying to educate people using big grammar, but we are still where we are. Okay. So I would call on all creators, please. Of course, you might not understand it, but just read a little. Just use your ChatGPT, use AI to understand the complex ideas and spread it to the populace, spread it to the farmer and all those people so that they'll be able to understand that this is the situation, this is what we have to do, the little we can do to save Ghana, to save our farms and basically our livelihoods, I should put it. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'm going to come back to... Oh, I love that we appreciate the knowledge that is being shared here. I love that. Please put your hands together for yourself. Thank you. Now, back to Natalie. We're going to be talking about WSO's support for journalists who, and of course, content creators who tell better stories or fact-based stories about sustainability and environmental stewardship. What's the support for journalists in this area?
Well, first of all, I mean, as an organization, we believe deeply in the role of journalists, like really deeply. We work closely with a number of journalists, as I mentioned earlier, from across the world. And the support that we offer journalists, first of all, we've got a broad base of resource persons within the WSO who may either be working as full-on staff, as researchers, as what have you, and they're based globally. And so, as a journalist, if you need, more, when we create these reports on climate change and sustainability, we also need them to be a bit more nuanced, richer, right? We want to use resource people who, of course, are from Ghana, Africa, Nigeria. We need nuanced stories because climate change and sustainability is a global issue. So we can't just take a look at it from a local lens. Yeah. And so, first of all, we offer resource persons. And I mean very qualified resource persons. The founder, who I mentioned earlier, has got over 3 decades in the environmental space and the sustainability space. And so we offer that direct access to key resource persons, right? In addition to that, we offer somewhat of a network where you can engage with other journalists, where you can become a member of the team in the sense that you put out reports from a local context. You figure out, okay, in Ghana, what's happening environmentally and sustainability-wise that I want to shed light on. And where you can, we enlighten you on the certifications that we provide, okay? And where there can be some correlation between the two. So I mentioned earlier, for instance, if you're highlighting issues on illegal mining, we offer certifications on sustainable mining, okay? So that's one. If you're highlighting reports on just sanitation-related issues, the WSF, I haven't mentioned that, but the World Sustainability Foundation also supports a lot of deprived communities. So we can then offer support there. We offer courses for journalists, so you may want to also just broaden your knowledge on sustainability-related issues. We offer courses as well. And then I would, as I mentioned earlier, want to subsequently further engage with the TN Africa team, but then journalists who do work on stories on digital platforms or mainline media on a consistent basis, not just touch on the newsworthy issue, but also highlight some of the certifications we offer. There is some financial remuneration for journalists because it's important to also, motivate young journalists who are putting climate issues forward. So those are the key ways in which we support journalists.
Awesome. Because I was going to ask that. You're still talking about African journalists, and you've not touched on support financially. That's very
critical.
That's very critical. Please, we'll get there. We'll get there. So finally, with you, Marjorie, I would like you to wrap up the entire conversation for me. Why it's important to continue to allow this conversation. I love your point on because these people probably haven't, noticed the fact that we eat too many animals and they are not staying alive to protect the climate. I'd like you to wrap up with all of that knowledge because you come on this set with a lot of wealth of knowledge on this.
Well, I would say that I've been engaged in climate issues for so long because I grew up in Germany, so in Germany is very much on that, even in education, in school. So we are taught to basically take care of the nature, take care of our surroundings, and make sure that everything we do, we're not really hurting. So what I would say is that if you go to certain places, that you will see that basically we separate the beans, sometimes we do something called compost, which means when you are eating or anything, there's a separate bin for that so that you can use it for your soil, so basically you're recycling things, you're not just throwing away. And even then when you're recycling your plastic and different things and papers, you have to take care of that, not throwing things on the floor, and have your own, because if every human takes care of something, I believe that at some point, because we know that the biggest players are the ones who are actually destroying a lot of things, the big companies and all, but also it's also our responsibility to take care of that. So when I was talking about animals, it's because I do know that a lot of people don't really think about that. They just think it's very much normal to just eat, it's very much normal to just but sometimes we have reached a very critical point now, because now before nobody wanted to talk about climate issues, but now everybody's talking about it because they are now have floodings, they are now touched by it. Do not wait to be affected by the issue before you're concerned by it. Be concerned by these things because it will affect you at some point. So if you see it's affecting some other people, don't worry, your time is coming too if you don't do something. So basically I'll just say that make sure that today when you go back home, you start thinking of what can you change in your life in that aspect. What can you do to make sure that we can move forward? It's not just about the companies, it's also about you. So that's it really.
Thank you so much, Marjorie. I'm going to start thinking, but certainly I'm not starting from the meat part, no. But we're going to take 2 questions. They gave me opportunity to take 3, but I used that time, so we're going to take 2 questions. And so please, let's see your hand if you have any questions for our panelists. Then, oh, we have one here. Can we get him a microphone? Oh, mine? But have you enjoyed this session, please? Have you? Oh, put your hands together for the panelists, please. I think it's been a good one. Please, yes, let's hear your name and which organization you represent, and then send in your question, please.
All right, so my name is Akwesi Bugatti. I'm a blogger. And my question is, how do you measure success when talking about climate change? Because we are in this country, every year we keep talking about flooding, and every year it keeps flooding. So how do you measure success when talking about some of these topics? Thank you.
Who's going to take that for me? Natalie, you want to take that for me? Okay, sure, thank you.
Okay. How do we measure success when talking about issues on climate? I go back to Marjorie's point, although it wasn't related to his question, she made it earlier, but with regards to honing in on context, on local context, right? I think one thing that we don't do enough of in Ghana, I wouldn't talk of Africa because I'm not fully aware, but I would say somewhat in Africa as well, it's just research, right? It's really investing in research, like deep research. When we are making reference to things, be it with regards to our finance or the environment, we would cite the United Nations, we would cite, we've got all these international organizations that we cite. What about our own organizations, right, locally? What about our own research? I think that's how we can measure it, right? So I think if our local, be it ministries, government agencies are able to say, okay, we've done this research comparatively, looking at last year, last 2 years, what have you, when it rained, and this is the floods that were recorded in this particular area in 2014, this is the difference, looking at it in 2026, and like really doing deep research, and then us as media people putting that forward. I think we just need a lot more local research. I think that's to me, that's the response. That's how we can measure that we are making progress when it comes to that. It's deep research. Yeah.
Mr. Bugatti, has your question been answered? Yeah? Okay, you satisfied? Okay.
And let me add a little to that.
Oh, okay, please, go ahead.
Okay, so when it comes to climate change and climate action, we have to understand that our little actions will not yield results within the immediate time or within a short period of time. We are seeing repercussions of several decades of fossil fuels being burnt now, okay? The fossil fuels are burnt, ozone depletes, we use certain other greenhouse, we get certain other greenhouse gases being generated, leading to the ozone being depleted and all those stuff. It's a combination of several decades of activities that we are seeing the effects now. So the little effects and the impacts and the actions we take now would gradually culminate to a better future. So when we are communicating issues about climate change, let's not make it or paint it as if we'll see the results tomorrow or next year or next 2 years. Actually, last year was the hottest year in Africa, according to the World Meteorological Organization. We experienced the hottest year so far last year. And this year, we are here to get the data to know whether the situation is improving or not. But Africa, what fossil fuels are we burning here? What greenhouse gases are being produced here? You get it. But the oceans are getting hotter. It's changing the ecosystems in the ocean, on land, and all those stuff. So I would want us to understand that it's actually a bit complicated, but the little actions would yield to something which is appreciable in the years to come. So just take it that you are doing things now for your children and their children's children, basically. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the next question. Now I see 3 hands now. The lady. Oh, let me take the lady. Kojo.
Hi.
Okay, then I'd give the lady an opportunity to ask her question then.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Ato. I have more of a submission. I think for us here in Ghana, we enjoy convening, coming together to talk about stuff like this. But we need to we need to look beyond just talking, and how we can enforce and also make these talks actionable. When you look at Ghana, we have an EPA Act that goes as far back as 1994. That was way beyond I was born. That was way beyond when I was born. We have a Sanitation Act as recent as 2010. But there are a lot of people who don't know anything about these things. We need to look at how we can enforce these policies and not just bringing them up. When you look at other countries, they go the extra mile to make sure that these things are put at bay. You look at a country like the US, for instance, you look at billionaires, they actually put their monies where they see fit. You look at someone like Ted Turner, he's a media mogul, but he has a whole reserve where he has pumped billions of dollars in to restore livestock and land that has gone into extinction. You look at a country like Singapore, when they had the issue of when people were urinating in lifts, they had to come up with campaigns, and then communication comes in. They were putting in actionable communication to make sure that they were educating people on how to solve these problems. So we need to look at just coming together to talk and look at how we can actually make use of the talk that I go to a lot of summits here in Ghana, and it's crazy. We just come, we talk, and then everything rests in the room. We need to look at how we can look beyond stuff like that.
Are we clapping for him? Okay. All right. So, because I wasn't actually going to clap, Miss Ato, right? Okay. So this is okay. So anyone wants to answer, or I can take that. I can take that. Okay. I'm going to take that one. I think it's very important for us to also, indeed, your point you've made is very, very important. Very important points you've made over there. Actions are very important to take. In fact, we have done a lot of talk about many things and not seen any action. So I know where your sentiments are coming from. But right here in this room today, I think we've learned a few things. I have never heard about this animal thing. Honestly, I'm not even going to lie. I probably am now, warming towards the whole conversation on climate change. But we're learning, so these meetings or these summits are important so that we continue to drum in the ears of people what it is that we're saying, because people still do not appreciate the impact of our actions as people. So yes, actions need to be taken. The examples you make are years of investment of these countries and individuals, but they had to understand what it is that they were fighting, as a people, if you get what I mean. And so yes, it's important to take actions, but I think these summits and these gatherings are also very important as well. So thank you very much. Now to everyone in here, I wish I could take more questions, but we have to go. My name is Miriam Uduak-Mensah. My name is Mimi K. My name is Miriam Uduak-Mensah. Thank you so much for coming. And this panel session, also I had my colleague Natalie Fort, Chachu, Mr. Chachu, thank you so much for coming, and Marjorie, who's about to catch a flight. Please, you can leave us now. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.
Please put your hands together for them. As for the meat Marjorie was talking, Marjorie, have you seen steak? Hey, anyway. Well, let's hear briefly from Elikem Kotoko. I think he has an intervention, and then we'll proceed with the program. Elikem, you have some...
Okay. So just a quick one. I'm somebody who believes in doing than just talking. And so I want to rather profess some solutions here. For instance, don't just attend programs and be a good listener and go home, that's it. Everybody here can form a small group, go to a basic school, decide to find a solution. For instance, you can go to schools to begin to speak. That is why we have the social media, we have these apps we all have. You can go to Shridium Junior High School to educate people. The key thing we need to do is to simplify and decentralize the approach. Many times we mount these platforms where we speak very big English, climate change, and nobody even understands what it means. But we rather need to find a way to decentralize it so that the person who has not gone to school understands what it means. When we were in basic school, we were told that the refrigerators at the time were emitting some whatever, and ozone layer was being depleted, and so we now need to import ozone-free, what have you. But how well do we take these to the basic schools, to our communities? It is why the media plays a very critical role. But everybody here comes from a community. And I must inspire you by saying that when you are an advocate for such things, there's money to be made as well too, in case you need to know. If that will be your driving force, so long as you will be able to provide a solution, there's money to be made as well too. And that is just a fact, because a lot of funds is being allocated to climate change. And so you need to first go read more on the UN SDGs. Then you now identify what you want to do. You may not be a good speaker. You may not be a good artist. You may not be a good, but you are good at something. Put one or two people together, go to this school, go to that community, do this advocacy, begin something. And so I keep saying that we must start from where we are standing. And so that is just very critical. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Elikem Kotoko, for that intervention there. Well, at this material point in time, we'll be hearing from the High Commissioner of Barbados to Ghana, Her Excellency Juliet Bino Sutherland. Please, let's put our hands together as we receive her to give us her address. Please, let's do it better for her. Your Excellency, you're welcome. There you go. Your microphone.
Thank you very much. Good evening, all. Deputy CEO of Forestry Commission, first time meeting you, excellent intervention. My dear friend, Bolore, and your wife, other distinguished leaders in the media, the organizers, TN Africa, my now honorary Barbadian brother, Matthew Deborah, who spent so much time, digital pioneers, mentors, investors in the future of Ghana, investors investors in the future of Ghana, all of us. As an ambassador, I usually find myself in many spaces, and you recognize that I was late this evening. But whenever there is a youth-led or youth-based initiative, Bolore and the team can tell you, I find myself here. I'll always make the time. So it truly is a privilege to stand here with the voices shaping how we see ourselves as a people and how the world sees us as African, as Caribbean, as youth, as those of us like Bola who are a little more ripened, as creatives, as humanity. In today's digital age, you are not just content creators, and I see and recognize many of you, and digital journalists. You are narrative builders, cultural translators, agenda setters. Look at what you do every day. Look at what Wodamaya has done for the Caribbean and for Africa. You, all of you in this room, are leading one of the most powerful revolutions of our time. The revolution of ideas, of imagination, and of influence. So forgive me if, as Madam Ambassador, I take a moment to give all of you a 100% Bajan woo-hoo and applaud you for the efforts that I've seen here this evening. At the Barbados High Commission Ghana, our community outreach is focused on women and girls, on youth entrepreneurship. I'm really proud to be Grand Mentor of Bolare's Institute Youth Entrepreneurship Competition. And now, as a result of your efforts, Dami, Ola, and all of you who advocated my participation, I'm here to support this and any efforts around climate change and digital journalism. Let us be honest. Much of what drives the digital space is entertainment and lifestyle. And this is fine. I often laugh that I would do a substantive post and get a decent set of lights. Let me take a moment to do an alluring side look or put on an outfit, and all of a sudden, I'm getting likes and loves and likes and loves. So I would be disingenuous if I acted that I didn't understand this phenomena. I'm from Barbados. We in the Caribbean bring the energy and lifestyle that reflects the beauty of our beaches, the rhythm of our music, the pulsating feel of our culture. People everywhere need joy, laughter, music, creativity to breathe through life's challenges. So we do need what those working in the entertainment and cultural space are doing. But this evening, I see from our conversations that we're beginning to challenge ourselves to stretch our influence even further, to use our voice, our humor, our talent, not only to entertain, but to educate and to transform. Across Africa and the Caribbean, the story of climate change is unfolding in real time. In Ghana, we see coastal erosion swallowing homes, historical monuments, and livelihoods in places like Keta and Ada. The warming of the ocean is impacting the fishing in coastal communities like Cape Coast. And in Salanga and Domanga, prolonged droughts are threatening Ghana's food security, and climate migrants are moving from the north to the south, increasing the populations of communities across the country. In Barbados and across the Caribbean, we face stronger hurricanes. Even a tropical storm causes major challenges within our community. Even a tropical storm causes major challenges within our community. Our coral reefs loss are impacting our fishing stocks. The rising sea levels are threatening the very existence of island states. All islands are the tops of mountains that are sticking out of the ocean, essentially. My little one is 166 square miles. I mean, when I came here to Ghana, I recognized, and people ask me, how many people in your country? I usually round up. I round up, and I say around 300,000. So for us in island states, small island developing states, climate change is a very real thing. As a student leader, I remember we used to be able to bring beach parties. There's a particular beach in the north of the island called Mullins Beach. We could have brought comfortably hundreds, 300-400 students onto this beach to party. We're in the Caribbean, to party. I went back recently, and the beach has so eroded that the water is coming onto the roadside. I started to think about the women that used to be there braiding hair and selling, are now not able to ply their trade, and wonder what has happened to them. Fisherfolk in Barbados are losing their livelihood, much like fisherfolks in Blekusu, if I pronounced that right. So the same thing happening in both parts of the world. So the climate crisis is not a distant concern. It is happening now in our communities and to people that we know. Yet, I know I'm speaking to media folks. They often don't make the kinds of headlines because sometimes the stories are heavy, they're complex. How do you explain phenomena that's been taking place over several years? But you in this room, particularly you that are working in digital and social media, you have that special gift of translating complexity into connection, of turning scientific data into human stories, and most importantly, moving hearts and minds. Barbados is a small island, but we've chosen to lead big. All of you know our Prime Minister, the Honorable Mia Motley. She has become one of the world's most passionate voices on climate justice and the climate crisis, challenging global leaders, speaking truth to power, that we must deliver fair financing and real and substantive action. Barbados is also walking the talk. We have pledged to achieve 100% renewable energy and carbon neutrality by 2030. This is a big, heavy goal. We've introduced electric public transport and now have the largest fleet of green energy public buses per capita than any country in the Western Hemisphere. We have incentivized solar energy adoption in home to make it easy and cheap for people to have solar energy on their homes. And we are protecting our oceans while creating sustainable jobs. So our message is simple. No nation is too small to lead, and for you, no voice is too small to matter. That's the same spirit I see in all of you, and I heard from the conversations this evening. And the same spirit I see when I follow the work that you're doing. Young Ghanaian creators, Ghanaian, Nigerians, I recognize are here, African, who can take complex issues like climate change and make them understandable, make them urgent, and make them local. In Adiambra, how many of you know that JL Plantations is doing digital agriculture with the community? People are participating actively in finding a way to get early AI-driven information to know how much water to apply to their crops. It's a complex concept, digital agriculture. But if a journalist goes in there in the way that you do, and you talk to people, in effect, they're going to know when to water and when not to water. So you don't really have to choose between lifestyle and leadership. You can blend the two. And I'm going to share a story about a young lady. She's up there with Hillary Clinton. Imagine beauty influencers promoting eco-friendly products made in Ghana, helping Ghana to meet its export targets and improve the livelihood of small, particularly female-owned businesses. I met Ola. She doesn't know that I'm going to say that. Where is she, if she's here? Ola. Her handle is CW Abiyanadi. Through my fascination with her thrifting and redesigning and fashion hacking, and essentially repurposing outfits that you can get in the marketplace to make high fashion, high-end items, and using things. This is essentially just what we call the circular economy. And what she's doing it as a beauty influencer, I don't even think she understands the concept. We started to talk about it of circularity, but she was doing it because she recognized the need for sustainable livelihoods. Imagine a travel vlogger, the work that you're doing, Matthew, Mr. Deborah, sorry, I'm going to call you Mr. Deborah, my brother. I don't want to mess up your name. Spotlighting communities across the countries who are being resilient in the face of flooding and drought. Someone talked about earlier about how do we tell these stories? How do we help people to understand? We help people to understand by giving the real world, real life stories of what people are doing and what success actually looks like in the day-to-day, everyday actions that you've called on us to do. Imagine a comedy reel that makes people laugh, but at the same time, think about protecting the environment. So let me share you Ashley's story. Ashley Lashley, and you can find her online on I Am Ashley Lashley, is a young Barbadian who began as a climate blogger and youth advocate. She used her digital platform to speak passionately about sustainability, youth action, and our planet's future. What began as blogging, social media advocacy, raising awareness, highlighting challenges within the community, soon grew into real-world impact. And she was recently appointed as United Nations Secretary General's to the United Nations Secretary General's Youth Advisory Group on Climate Change, representing Caribbean youth on the global stage. And she only has 13,000 followers. I know that some of you in this room have significantly more. But she has been intentional about using her voice and using her platform globally and linking with UN agencies and other development partners. She's relentless. But her work is not only global, it's not only digital. My brother over here challenged us earlier to action. Her work is also grassroots. She's moved beyond talk and social media advocacy to action. Under her Ashley Lashley Foundation, she's launched the Growing Tomorrow's Harvest Project, and she's done exactly what you called on us to do, Deputy CEO. She's gone into 3 Barbadian secondary schools to promote climate action in Parkinson Memorial, Grantley Adams, and the Allen School. And she's teaching the students how to design small garden beds, how to plant in small areas. And essentially, she's teaching about food security for particularly persons from deprived and underprivileged communities. So through this work, Ashley is showing that creativity, digital voice, and purposeful action can connect the lifestyle world of young people with the serious business of climate resilience. Her story reminds us that one voice, one small voice, just 13,000 followers on one powerful global platform, and one purpose-driven heart can travel far beyond our shores, from Bridgetown to the United Nations and beyond. This is the power of digital storytelling. It turns awareness into action and clicks into consciousness. I don't know if you're like me, but I feel a great sense of satisfaction when I touch lives and impact society. Each of you in this room, when I look at some of the work you're doing, have the ability to transform Ghana every single day by the things you do within your platforms. And some of you already are. Thank you very much. In closing, believe me when I say to you that you are the generation that can make people feel the urgency of climate change and see the opportunities in solving it. You have in this room what many of us sometimes lack: the ability to make people care. So let's tell the new stories, stories of hope, stories of resilience, of innovation in Ghana, stories that foster unity between Africa and the Caribbean. Because the climate fight is not just about saving the planet, it's about saving the possibilities of all of our people. Keep creating, keep leading, keep using your voice. Investors, keep investing in these young people and continue to shape a future where we can all truly dream big and live sustainably. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, a louder one for Her Excellency Juliet Bino Sutherland, the High Commissioner of Barbados to Ghana. Yeah. And the proper hit was when she said investors should do what? Invest more in us. I think that deserves another clap. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Right, so there's one more panel would have to, and that would be a fire panel. Amel Deborah will be leading that panel discussion. Yeah, super heat. But before then, the High Commissioner talked about entrepreneurship with Bolare. Cohort 3 is underway, and the winner of that cohort gets to go to Barbados as well. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not part of the cohort, and something is doing me. Yeah, because Barbados is beautiful. We need to see Barbados. And so let's hear from the man, Nathan Kwabna Anochi Edisi, a.k.a. Bolare, S.K.A. Yes, sir. Yeah, let's do it better for the man.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Madam Ambassador, thank you. And that was a powerful one. We can, relate. Talking about Barbados and Ghana, we have a lot in common. And with what is happening in Blekusu, you actually, captured it very well. I'm happy we have a government official here, and a very vibrant and youthful one at that. I know that he will send a message across. But today, I'm highly enthused to be here. It's one of my special days, and I must say one of my favorite. Happiest days of my life, because two of my mentees, my prodigies, are doing this, putting it together. And it's about impact, it's about empowerment, it's about legacy. I've always maintained that you don't have to get to the finish line alone. You hold hands and you take people along. That's how countries, strong countries, are built. That is how strong institutions are built. It's like a relay. You hand over the baton, the person, and it's teamwork. It's only by that way that the dream can work. So today, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in celebrating these two distinguished people. I call on Dami Lola
Senano, I'm so proud of you. Come join me. You know, in Ghana, we don't celebrate people a lot. We just look at them and just, no, we need to do this. They need to take their place. Dami, we started working about 10 years ago. I'm happy. The man that you are becoming. You've not become it yet. Where you're going, we're all becoming. We're evolving. And I'm so happy on the part that you're chatting. You could have done anything else, but impacting life. I mean, listen, this is phenomenal. And I celebrate you today. Please put your hands together. And of course, we believe in gender equality. Where is Victoria Anyanyami? Victoria, come, please. A round of applause for Victoria. Victoria joined me. In November, we'll be celebrating 2 years working together. And you know how I scouted her and how she has evolved is just unbelievable. Please put your hands together. What men can do, women can do it no better, right? So to Dami, come. To Dami and Victoria, look, I'm so happy. And I want to prophesy because my name is Nathan. You know, I'm a prophet. We should be having this discussion in New York, in London, in Kenya, in South Africa. We should do it. So we are proud of you. Congratulations, all right? And to all of you here, please, a round of applause for your good selves. Thank you. So before I take my seat, and I can see a very distinguished personality right here with us. Please put your hands together for Mr. Cole Esuman. Please, Cole, give us a wave. Former legal advisor to the President of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo. Cole, please come and take your seat. You can't be a stranger. Thank you. Cole Esuman Esquire, the youngest to have ever done that. Advisor to the President, you know, the legal advisor. Thank you, Cole, for joining us. And as I take my seat, I also want to recognize the Deputy CEO of the Forestry Commission. Please put your hands together for Mr. Elikem Kotoko. And Elikem, we're going to do something. I'm going to put the Forestry Commission, you know, on the spot. I believe that, like a gentleman rightly said, what's the name again? Ato. We should move from, you know, mere talk to action. And we are about action as well. This shouldn't just be a mere talk shop. So I'm calling on the Forestry Commission. EIB Network will commit 1 million Ghana cedis and airtime to support the advocacy, climate change, sustainability. I know Mayor Deborah will join me as well and give us that time. Many of the bloggers here, let's have today, we call it the British Council Accord. And I know the High Commissioner will also join us. Let's get there and be that change makers. Is the Forestry Commission ready to stand? Please join me, my brother. I want you to join me on stage. We want an action plan from the TN Africa Summit. Let it be said when we are gone, 50 years, 60 years, 100 years, that there was a time and action was taken by all of us in this room to protect this climate, not for ourselves, but for generation unborn. And you were part of history. So the Forestry Commission, I want to actually call on you. Can we have influencers, 10 of them, sponsored by the commission, you know, put out there to just do the work of advocacy? Your Excellency, will we have that? Oh, no.
He's giving me a title so I can easily agree to everything. The purpose of education is to impact lives. And I am a strong believer in action. I want to tell you here and now that fortunately the Forestry Commission is the only known agency that has a well-established climate change unit. And I think COP30 is just a few days ahead in Brazil, and we will be there as well. I can tell you on authority that I will consult with my CEO. I will forcefully push for this agenda and make sure that we impact positively, and I will actively partake in that exercise too. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy CEO. So it is done.
So yes, we are part of the British Council Accord, and maybe before the end of the year, we should find a meeting day to start everything. Yes.
You see, this is action, and that's what we want. So please, let's all be part of it, and thank you all for coming. Ameya, we're coming. Abena, we're coming for you. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man Bolare. Let's do it better for him. Fantastic. And he has set the stage for the next conversation. We are going to start the content creation from this stage. And then he says 1 million Ghana cedis worth of airtime on GH1 television and all our other affiliates for you as well. And so let's welcome Amayao Deborah. And you know, because social media guys, they understand how data costs so much, and so they are very crispy with their time. They don't spend too much time on social media. So 10 minutes, back, then you do their team finish. Let's see how Amayao does this in 10 minutes.
Thank you very much. So it's indeed a pleasure to host this next panel. We're going to discuss using digital influence to drive climate and social impact. I believe globally we've seen a lot of people in the digital space sort of heralding and advocating for things around climate change and all. And in this same vein, we've seen people also sort of fight it with different sort of theories, conspiracy theories here and there. And I think it's important that we consciously use these platforms and all the influence that comes with it to impact audiences with the right knowledge on all of this. So to help me do this, I have with me Abna Soreno and Etonam. By doing a quick round of introductions. And so maybe, Abna, you can start by quickly introducing yourself.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing?
Abna, you can start by quickly introducing yourself.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing? I know it's been a long night, but my name is Abna Soreno, and I am a radio presenter and a broadcast journalist with the Daily Guide Network. And I also have a non-profit that is called Goals for Flow. And what we do is we empower young girls by giving them sanitary kits every month. And we've been doing this for the past 2 years.
Fantastic.
I can almost relate with Miriam because I'm a bit nervous because my bosses are here. I am Etonam Kumashi. I'm a digital journalist with GH1 TV.
Fantastic. So we'll go right into it. Abna, what is the closest climate change effect that has come to you?
I think now climate change now is not a headline anymore. And it's not been a headline since it visited some of us, our rooms. And I think it has changed from being just the overarching effect that is the unpredictable weather pattern. But now it is about, you know, the changes that we're seeing with an influx of people in hospitals than even with a change in the weather. How many of us have got a flu in recent time? Because I'm also battling it. And if you did not know, this flu is also as an effect of climate change. The drastic change from, you know, the long raining season to the, dry spell where your immune system doesn't even have time to build up to embrace what is happening. All of these are, I think, is exactly what I've been able to experience as far as my experience with climate change is concerned.
So I'm still on you. How can journalists and creators work together to tell human-centered climate stories and feel that feel relevant? Yeah.
I think with journalists, we cater to a different audience. Creators also cater to a different audience. But there is a fine ground and a middle ground where all of us meet. Journalists meet, you know, the broader audience. We are able to give credibility to the stories that we're telling. We're able to bring facts to the stories that we're telling. But when it comes to the creators, they literally are the ones that give first-hand information to digital consumers. So we all have different audiences that we cater to. But you know, when we come to that understanding that we're not in competition, nobody's putting anybody out of it, but we all have different audiences that we can come together and also, you know, drum home the actual essence of we fight against climate change. We'll be able to go for it. So that is, the first part I would say is collaboration and partnership.
Fantastic. And then finally, if you had to create one powerful video tomorrow morning, say, that would get Ghanaians to act on climate change, what would that look like?
You know, when it comes to climate change and Ghanaians, it has become a buzzword. And as almost everybody that has been handed over the microphone will attest to the fact that we always say climate change, climate change, climate change, but we don't really understand the essence of what it is. So for me, if I'm supposed to come with an idea, it will be about climate change changing, but are we also changing? This will capture faces of farmers that, you know, are literally in the middle of their farms wailing, because this is actually what happens. Not to divert from this, but there was a story I heard from Desmond, and Desmond is a Complete Farmer, the founder of Complete Farmer, and he was sharing his story about how he lost about $20 million, yes, in investment because of, you know, they had to open a dam in northern Ghana. So these are the things that happen. So capturing the faces of farmers that go through it, capturing the faces of everyday Ghanaians who have been displaced because of, you know, flooding, that is the effect of climate change, and also visiting people whose homes have literally been taken away because of, you know, high tides and all of that. So yeah, that would be it.
So telling real life stories.
Telling real life stories.
Fantastic. So Etonam, you represent a generation that didn't wait for legacy media approval before telling stories. What first drew you to digital journalism, and how has it shaped your approach to storytelling?
That's an interesting question. I even think that I have a story to that. So I remember when I came to GH1 TV, and I was asked to do this show. It's called This Week in News, where you do a news recap. And I went to the studio, and once the lights fell on me, I was like Natalie Ford. You know, I was very, you know, prim and proper. And my boss said, I want you to be relatable. I want you to establish some form of connection. And I sit with him, you know, I talk to him. So it's like, we have conversations, but why is that when you get to the studio, then you're like, hi, everyone, I am Etonam Kumashi. And, you know, like, there is that strictness. And I couldn't do it for a while. But after some time, I realized that people are able to relate with you more when you are human. And that is the aspect of digital journalism that we don't talk about enough. In fact, there is a reason why ahead of the, you know, 2024 general election, we had a presidential aspirant saying, look, if you vote for me, I will change the face of digitalization. There's a reason that was even a conversation. So for me, when it comes to digital journalism, it's about connection. It's about credibility, but giving that, you know, some form of empathy and truth as well. Thank you.
Fantastic. Gen Z journalists are redefining how news is consumed, more visual, more interactive, and more emotional. How do you balance creativity and credibility in the fast-moving digital space?
I mean, yes, when it comes to creativity and credibility, there's always an interesting dance between the two, because it's like, how do I get creative but maintain the truth to a particular story? And I think it is a power that a lot of digital journalists don't actually recognize, because it's like, how do I make it beautiful? How do I catch attention? It's like, that is the main focus. But you need to understand that creativity is good, but credibility will give you longevity, in that people will be able to look at you and recognize that you are telling us a story in its true sense. You become a face of that. You become the brand for that. So for me, and I think for young people, Gen Zs, young people, digital journalists, you should be able to balance the two. I mean, it can be a funny dance sometimes, like, okay, there's a trend. How do I hop on this trend? And sometimes you're not actually looking for the facts. You're not actually looking for the truth. But if your goal is to shape the consciousness of people who are watching you, then you would find the right balance between being creative and also having some level of credibility.
Fantastic. Finally, this summit focuses on climate journalism. How do you see young journalists using social media to make serious issues like climate challenges or climate change more relatable to their audiences?
Then again, digital journalism. I don't know anything that makes anything more relatable than, you know, picking up your phone. Sometimes someone is in a bonnet, wakes up in the morning, goes through their feed, and then they see that something is trending, and then they pick up their phone and then they do a video about it. So I think that the fact that it is an aspect of journalism that involves, that human connection, it is so easy. You can talk about climate change. Maybe your mom will not understand, but there is a way you'd be able to tell her. I went home a few months ago. I went to visit my parents, because I don't live with them. And before I got to my house, there was, it was raining, so it was flooding. And I put my leg in the water, and it was coming all the way up, and I was scared. So there were these guys around, and they were like, oh, let me hold your hand, let me help you. My parents have been living there for about 10 years. And I'm asking myself, how did I not know that this is happening? It means that it has not always been happening. So even if you think I don't live in a flood-prone area, I can't relate with what you people are saying, that thing is coming close to us. You will be a part of it very soon. And when it hits you, you will definitely know how to tell the story. So it's not about saying that I don't know how to say it, because when I got to them, the first thing I said is, Nafia, since when? Like I'm coming home and I'm afraid that I'm going to be carried away by water. So you will be able to tell the story. You can't tell your parents, you can't tell the market women, you can't tell the professionals, whatever it is, because once you experience it, you would realize that telling the story is not a problem at all.
Fantastic. And we are good storytellers naturally as Ghanaians. We know how to tell stories. So maybe before I invite questions from the floor, I'll ask one general question that both of you can have a take on. And it's, what would happen if Ghana's biggest creators came together to do a single Clean Ghana challenge? Do you think their audiences would care, or would they scroll past that?
I think, first of all, it would trend. As for trending, it is bound to trend. But we also need to ask ourselves that this challenge that we want to throw out there, do we see themselves in it? For time we've spoken about keeping our societies clean, the indiscriminate dumping, we need to stop it. But would they actually do it? We've seen people like the Bus Stop Boys pick this initiative up and they've started. Along the line, we've seen people come through to support them. That is a reminder that there are some people who are willing to support. But at the same time, too, it will shift behavior some way, somehow. It would work out to a capacity, but it does not have to be a 90 wonder. It needs to follow. It just can't be a one-time thing, then we just leave it as that.
I agree with you. But I think that it would certainly do something. Listen, when you meet an influencer, a content creator, and you say, oh, I have this product, I am willing to give you any amount, create skits, do sell this for me. See the energy.
Oh wow, a lot of people do agree. No, because we see so many people go about, posting one product and the person just getting 2 people to buy, and they say, yeah, I'm an influencer. But the work of an influencer goes beyond just talking about an issue. It's about the community that you have built, the immediate community that when you tell them, everybody, this Saturday, join me at Labadi Beach, let's go and clean up the beach. They are showing up, and it's not just 3 people that are showing up, masses. We've seen what Shatta Wale has done in terms of entertainment. That is what we're talking. When it comes about influence, it's about those that have the masses, those that have the power to say that if we are supposed to do this and continue in 3 years, the followers will say, okay, I believe in this person. This person has some form of authority that would change my perception about things, and also the effects that would create at the end of the day. So I think we use this word very, very loosely. But we need to understand who an influencer is and who a brand promoter is.
Good. And I know I said this is going to be my last question, but Her Excellency did mention the importance of investors coming in. I wanted to find out, what do you think that impact would be on your work if you had investors come in to sort of support something we're doing, perhaps around climate change, sustainability, etc.?
It's interesting you mentioned this. Just yesterday, I was sitting, I was moderating a panel for Global Citizen on their podcast called Voices of Change, and I was one of the panelists was a representative from the independent funding for public interest media. And I think everyone here should take advantage of that, because sometimes the access to grants and the information is very limited that we do not know. And it was interesting to note that there were two people that were sitting on the panel that said he is a journalist in Brazil, and because of the effects of climate change, he literally wrote to IFPIM and told them he needs support to build a bridge to help them. And I was like, okay, to build a bridge to be able to help people transport, that's a great idea. But right here on the continent of Africa, we have a lot of brilliant minds that are out there that have the ready available solutions, but it's the support. So I think once we're able to get these support in terms of grants, funding, and I'm glad that the High Commissioner is here. We have mission and diplomatic houses also supporting. It would advance the work. For some people, it's just about starting out. They don't know how to start out. They might have the phone. They will say, I can take a video, but I think if I had a more sophisticated tool, that is like a camera, it will help me, travel the length and breadth, not to worry about the storage on my phone getting full, but knowing that I have a camera that can capture everything, and also in a more ethical way. Yeah.
I think that when it comes to investment and investors, sometimes education is very important, because once you really understand what you're fighting for, you are able to fight for it better. So there's someone out there who has like money, who has resources, and doesn't know where to channel it at the moment, because it's like, what am I doing? Should I start a business? Should I do this? Should I do that? But that's why it's important that we keep talking about it. Yes, we have to be able to measure it, have actionable actions, but then again, the more we talk about it, the more we are able to let people understand that this is something that will definitely affect you if we do not pay attention to it. Then you have people coming in when it comes to, investments and having investors. Sometimes it's just about the right education. And sometimes it's about we pushing it, because we are here to tell the story. So once we can get the narrative across, I think that it will be fairly easy to get investors on board. Thank you.
I just want to add on, I think another aspect is also gatekeeping. We have a lot of gatekeepers in our industry, and I think it's about time that stops and we change the narrative. Because there are people in here that would know, or they have idea of how to unlock certain funding. But because they will not want to see someone ahead of them, they would not, give that detail. So I think we need to stop gatekeeping. We need to let information flow. As the Deputy CEO did mention, everybody here, we are, partners in this thing. It's a partnership, it's collaboration. So once you hear about something, please tell another person. You might never know what the outcome would be.
Fantastic. I think at this point, we didn't do too badly with time, right? Yeah. So we can open it up. If anybody has a question, you can ask. I think we have a young lady over there.
Thank you very much. Great show. Mine is a comment. Before I say that, I believe in climate change. But let's not forget about the people who don't believe in climate change. They exist. I mean, Donald Trump is there. Some of them think it is agenda setting. I give you an example. After COVID, we all heard about the vaccines, that if you don't vaccinate your people, something terrible is going to happen. We are still here after that. Even the Attorney General is investigating Sputnik vaccines today. It became a money-making venture for people. So when we meet the people who don't believe in climate change, we don't have to totally dismiss what they are saying. I give you an example about someone I met in the US, a big Donald Trump supporter who doesn't believe in climate change. And when he spoke, he said, oh, it's a commercial enterprise. Solar companies are sponsoring you guys so you can kill the petroleum companies so they can make more money. Then I reminded him that I come from Keta. The house my grandmother was born in. Now I can only point at it in the sea. It's kilometers in the sea. The one my own mother was born in is in the sea. If not for the Sea Defense Project, we would have had the church I grew up in the sea as well. Guess what? After Sea Defense, the problem shifted. Now Adam people are dealing with the same problem. So let's not totally be dismissive. Let's admit that there could be agenda setting. I say this because we are journalists here as well. Thank you very much.
I think there's a lady here.
Thank you very much. I'm Patience Nameliadu, a communication student in University of Cape Coast. And it's a question, but it's like a contribution or a comment. We are talking about climate change, and we are talking about Galamsey. Miss Marjorie spoke about animals, but she was like, we talk about ourselves too. And looking at it, I'm thinking that, look at the wigs we are wearing, like females. Fired. These wigs, we wear them, and females like a month, within 2 months, a year, you can change your wig like 10 times, 20 times. These wigs, we remove them. They don't degrade. So when we pack them, where do the wigs go? And we are looking at...
That's a good one. That's a good one.
And we are looking at Galamsey. In India, let's look at our makeup product. Mica, it's like a major component in our makeup product. We don't mine mica in Ghana. But imagine there was mica being mined in Ghana and adding it to Galamsey. How can we combine those two? So I'm also thinking about that one.
Effects of climate change. I used to be fair.
Yeah,
now look at me.
I think before she comes, hers was like, it's not really like a question, but she just wanted to contribute. But anytime you're purchasing anything, think about sustainability. For me, I always say, I invest in good hair. If I have to save for 2 years and buy the hair, I will. My oldest wig is still my finest wig, and I've had it for over 6 years. That is because I believe in sustainability. Same with my clothes. And a lot of people don't know that the clothes that even now is a major issue in Kantamanto, where we have organizations like the All Projects now going all out, asking, now they're actually letting the Kantamanto women tell their own story about how now the clothes that are even coming in are clothes that the people themselves, they would not wear. You understand? So I think we also need to think about sustainability in everything that we do.
I want to say something about that. I think that when it comes to production, we've not actually talked about climate change in terms of the kind of things we produce and when it comes to the whole concept of manufacturing. So I think that as we continue to have conversations, people should not just look at it and think, okay, it's just about making sure that the environment isn't dirty, our drains are not clogged. But even when you decide to manufacture a product, that is, producers should also be educated so they know, okay, how is this affecting the environment? Because I doubt that it is a huge consideration for people when they decide to come up with a product. It's like, how will this sell? How will this go fast? But then there is not much thought. So hopefully, more producers and manufacturers would actually take that into consideration when they are doing things.
So you see what happens when we talk about women's wig.
We're triggered.
All right, so good evening, everybody. My name is Lawson Miriam. I work in the media, and also I'm into startups that we are creating a climate tech solution. So there is this, let me say, a problem that we are all facing day in, day out, which is about excessive fuel emission. Day in, day out, we face a lot of traffic jam. And these traffic jams, we know that most of cars in Ghana, the kind of carbons that come out into the system is very, very deadly, that can even kill a fowl. Yes. So what? So this climate tech solution was born out of a problem that was noticed not only in Ghana, but Africa and then global. What we are doing is that firstly, we are connecting travelers to people that want to send packages. And not only that, we are providing some kind of revenue that people can make. And this revenue, let's take it that Accra to Kumasi, day in, day out. We look at the number of people that are courier drivers, the number of people that are into delivering items. So let's say our gentleman here is going to deliver an item to somebody in Kumasi. And then the person picks, look look at the exorbitant amount of money that people charge. Sometimes just a dress, you purchase it, and then they'll charge you like 150 cedis, 250 cedis. Just extra, even more than that. Just to deliver that item. So what we are doing is that the number of fuel that people use just to transport goods, if we are connecting peers, we are connecting people to just deliver items. One, we are not just giving them the opportunity to make money, but also reducing excessive fuel emission. Look at the traffic. Right now when we close, everybody will go and look for car. And some people are on their way just to go and deliver items. So we need partnership, please. Mr. Elikem, please, we need partnership for this climate solution. Thank you so much.
She sold her business, fala. I'll give you a UI invoice. But you made a mistake. You didn't mention the name of the business.
You know, before that, I want to ask a random question. How many of us know the age of the average car on the road? I just want you to mention if you think you know. The age of the average car on our roads, the vehicle. Come again? 15? Absolutely, that's right. 15 years. That's the average. Meaning there are some that is above average that are still on the roads, and there are some that are below average. That means, so what she's saying is valid, and she's asking for more partnerships. So yeah, carbon emissions, yeah.
So hello, my name is Sejiwa, and I'm a content creator, and at the same time, an activist for climate change. So when I started content creating, I wanted to do like entertainment. I wanted to follow the footsteps of Kojo Sheldon and the rest. But I realized that I couldn't do it to the way I wanted to do it, you know. So I decided to stop. But I was thinking, what else can I do? Because I really loved content creating. And I realized that I had passion for the environment, because when I walk through the streets and I see litter of waste, you know, being spread around, I get concerned. So I decided to start advocating for sustainable waste management. So I came up with a project called the Escape Project. So the Escape is the normal spelling of Escape, which is environmental and sanitation campaign against plastics for ecological sustainability. So when I started that, I used to just do the advocacy, talk to people in their homes, schools, and churches. But I realized that questions were coming. Okay, so you are saying that we shouldn't litter, but we walk through the street of Accra or other capital cities, and we don't find any waste bin for us to dispose our waste. So are you telling us that we should keep our waste with us when we are in the public places and get home with it? In as much as some people are disciplined enough to do it, others are not ready to do it. But then again, I speak to some authorities and I realize that they've deployed waste bins, but Ghanaians, we have problem. Because people, when they disperse waste bins, some of them will steal them to be used in their homes. When they also place the metal waste bins, people, the scrap dealers steal them. So then what do we do? So I came up with an initiative that let me use recycle or upcycle pure water rubbers to build a waste bin. And that is one of my intervention projects that I'm doing. I've upcycled pure water rubbers to build a waste bin, which I donated to a school. And that school is my boss's, Mr. Edisi's former school that he attended, African Child School. I recently donated that waste bin, and I want to do more of that waste bin, because that one, nobody will steal it. And when we deploy it at bus stops and other things, nobody will steal it. So I'm here. Escape Project needs help. As we are saying that we need investors, please come on board. Escape Project, support me. I'm also doing, please forgive me. Yeah. I'm also doing recycling. This is a pitch. Okay, I'm also doing recycling. I'm ensuring that people are recycling from their homes. So I talk to them, I sign them to keep their recyclable waste, and I pick it up. But I'm faced with a challenge of transportation, and I need 2 aboboya. So I'm encouraging my honorable personalities here to come to the aid of Escape Project, because we have a lot that we are doing.
It's like people forget we can't recycle time. The time that we can't recycle it, no matter what you do. The only reason why I'm giving you the mic is that you've been here for so long. So quick one.
All right. Thank you so much. I just want to make a brief comment about the climate issue. Climate change and sustainable development is a broader issue, a very big one. It moves beyond what we just see. Someone talked about the traffic on the road. It is also sustainable development issue. Now, as journalists, I'm not a journalist though. As journalists, I just want us to focus on the institutions. Obama said something, that we must build strong institutions. Now, this is an example. Forestry Commission promises to plant about 30 million trees. As journalists, are you following up to know whether they've planted the 300 or the 30 million trees? Now, if you have your traffic light in your area that is not working, what are you doing about it as a journalist, blogger, or whatever? If there's a pothole that is causing so much traffic, what are you doing about it as a journalist? And if there's a factory, Ford talked about sustainability and all that. So if there's a factory that is producing, and the factory is at the Tema industrial area, are you looking at the factory? Are you looking at how they dispose their waste? Where is their waste going? As a journalist, these are things that we should be doing. EPA, you go to EPA, book appointment with the executive director. Ask her, why is it that this factory is not disposing their waste well, and they are sitting down and not doing anything? So I'm just encouraging all of you. Look at the issue broadly, advocate, and let the institutions do whatever they are supposed to do. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I beg you, our time, unfortunately, we're supposed to close at 8 o'clock.
You know, I want to make a comment.
You too, I beg you.
I'm so sorry. Quickly. She mentioned something, and she mentioned that for her, she wanted to do entertainment, but at the same time to maintain, you know, the climate change content. But that is not to tell you that entertainment and climate change or entertainment and education cannot coexist. They can't actually coexist. It's about you finding the innovative ways to talk about the things that you want to talk about. And second, he made a comment. I think that a lot of people don't consume TV because of, you know, the digital media like before. So they're actually doing the work. But no one is really watching the content that it's another conversation for another day. Right. But I know the journalists in here who cover stories around climate change will attest to the fact that their stories are found, they end up on TV. But now we need to move from, you know, the technology, the traditional and structured reporting, and sometimes even away from the digital, and go all the way down to the people themselves to tell them about it. So yeah, that will be it.
Thank you. Please put your hands together for them. They've done an amazing job. I mean, Deborah and his crew. I gave them 10 minutes. They decided to do beyond that, but still, you know, please, one more time for them. And we have Eugene Osafo Nkansa here for concern. Yeah, president of the New Media Association. Wonderful. Yeah, we salute you so much for being here. We also have Mr. Rudolph Brenya. He's also here. Mr. High Definition. Let's celebrate him as well. Amazing. Chairman. Oh, Koyesuma again. Okay, please, let's give it up to him. And you know, he loves the environment so much that he drives EVs, super EVs. You know, he's protecting the environment as well. All right, so quickly, we need to move on because we are really, really out of time. But then we'll now invite onto the podium the founder and CEO of one of our sponsors, Mingo Blocks, Benjamin Norte, to give us a short remark. Mind you, we are live on ABC News TV. We are live on ABC News as well on YouTube, and also live on Facebook at TN Africa. ABC News, thank you so much for carrying us live. Mr. Rudolph, please come up stage for us. Mr. Benjamin Norte, give us a quick message and then we'll wrap it up.
Good evening. My name is Ben Norte from Mingo Blocks. So we are actually at the tech side of all this conversation. So we specialize in AI and robotics. So we design robots and tools that help people. And as I've been listening to the conversation, one of the things that I'm thinking about is how can we also channel the conversation around AI and how technology can also help tackle issues of climate change. Currently, there's a lot happening in that space. I know of AI, which is literally, helping us to predict weather pattern, and AI could even fight galamsey. AI can do a whole lot of things for us, and so I believe that as we are looking at this kind of conversation, we should also look at where technology actually plays a role, and how technology can, also help contribute and shape the whole conversation. So I've really enjoyed every bit of the conversation, and I think that we'll be around. We did a little setup, and I think one of the things we are also very passionate about is, the area of STEAM education, because typically this conversation shouldn't just, start at this level alone. We also need to, take it down to our basic school. The children need to be, exposed to these things. And so whilst we are, looking at SDGs and how, certain technologies can help promote and solve problems within that space, we also need to, give children the opportunity to, learn a lot about, climate change. And interestingly, we, design solutions, products, AI, and other techs that can actually, broaden people who wants to, learn and get to know about how these technologies can help. So once again, thank you so much for being part of this program, and we're always going to be available to support this. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you to Mingo Blocks, and we appreciate that you've partnered with us for this. Well, let's welcome our lead convener, Damilola. He is going to launch our action plan going forward, because like we've said, it's not just about talking about it, it's about putting in place actionable steps to be able to get results in the end. So Damilola will help us do that quickly, and then we'll take the vote of thanks, and we are out of here.
Good evening once again, and thank you all for staying. I know it's pretty late, so we have to run. When I gave my welcome address, I said that this is not just a summit, it is a movement. And so I want all my journalists, all my content creators, the official hashtag is Story the Change. And I want all of us to come together to story the change. This summit is part of what we call the Social Media Responsibility Initiative. And I'll just give a brief introduction about what it's about. Many youth, especially female students, have been caught on the wrong side of the law due to malpractices that have gone viral via social media. These occurrences are largely due to little or no knowledge of internet hygiene, ethical social media platform use, and its implication on their future. The Social Media Responsibility Initiative is a project that aims to educate and sensitize young people on the responsible use of social media platforms and internet hygiene, as well as enlighten them on the importance of climate change advocacy using social media. This project would involve the creation of educational resources for students, and that's where we'll have Mingo Box come in, and training materials for teachers as well. And so we'll be going to secondary schools, going down there and educate our second cycle institutions on climate change and its effect. So it's called the Social Media Responsibility Initiative, and I want everybody to come on board as we make this happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Damilola, for that. We will story the change indeed. Now, let's welcome co-convener Victoria to give us the vote of thanks.
So I'm going to make this very brief and short.
As we draw this event to a close, we want to say thank you to our special guest of honors. We know we've kept you guys waiting more than the time we communicated. We are very sorry, and we will work better on it. I want to say thank you to our chair lady of the day, the High Commission of Barbados to Ghana. Thank you, Ma, for being here with us. To Mr. Elikem Kotoko, we really, really appreciate you for coming. And all our other special guests and panelists, thank you. To my team, this cannot be done without team. Archie, Bernice, people, everybody from all the GH1 team who have supported us to make this happen. Thank you so much. I deeply appreciate it. And let's move forward with climate and sustainability. Thank you.
Vicky, thank you, Vicky, for thanking us and leaving me out again. Anyways, well, thank you all so much for being a very big part of today's conversation. I believe it's been enlightening. Please don't leave yet. We want to take one group photograph that we can use to tell the world that indeed we all met here for the British Council Accord. So please, let's have all the dignitaries up on stage, please. Elikem Kotoko, Madam High Commissioner, Bolare will join us, Feeling Daddy. All of us will be on the stage. Take one beautiful photograph to remember this day. So, Madam High Commissioner, Bola, Feeling Daddy, all up on stage, please. All up. And while at that, we'd like to say thank you to all our sponsors and partners, the Newsroom Africa.com, World Sustainability Organization, Social Media Responsibility Initiative, Stand Africa, GH1 Television, Publicity Africa, AmealDebra.com, Nkokonsat.com, PR Africa, TN Africa, Castle Creative Agency, ICS Africa, Mingo Blocks, Yonila, Africa Live News, The Ghana Insider, Donkos Blog, Wooden Studios, and Afro Arab for making it happen for us. All right, so please, let's please be on stage quickly. you.